There's a lot to say. So I just want to use okay, it wasn't an experience. Let's just go back to 91. You need to listen because they're going to cover. So you need to listen and people keep talking. Okay. All right, we're going to look at some melodies, and I'm going to look at, in particular, page 91, the middle one. I'm just going to put this quickly on the board. Give me a moment. Okay, remember, listen, so there's a lot going on here with this kind of question. Okay, we look at the top one, and you remember I said on Monday, I said I thought it was a weak melody, and I gave it 6 out of 10, I think, yeah. I said basically it didn't seem to have any kind of sense of going someplace. Okay? Let's compare this second one. You give it a rating if you want. This guy here, B flat major. Out of 10.
Oh, that's funny.
9? Oh, okay. 10 out of 10?
Give it a 6 or 7. Give it 7.
Okay, Wes. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you think it's a little bit better than the one we looked at on Monday, the F minor. So we said that one.
The F minor. 8.
I like to be fun.
So we said that again, and I said I made it clear. It was kind of my subjective opinion, right? There's nothing that I can sort of measure that and put against it like it's either a major third or it's not a major third. It's right or wrong, no question. Here, you could argue, and somebody might think, well, maybe it's better than 6. Somebody might say it's less than 6. So it's subjective. But just overall, by saying the B flat one, everybody seemed to think it's a little bit more kind of interesting. And there's a reason for it too. If you look at the shape of this guy, it kind of heads. It's heading for this. In other words, there's a clear ascent towards something, and that's what I mean by it has a direction. And every good melody will have some kind of sense of going someplace. The F minor, I pointed out, keeps going between, you know, F and A flat, do, mi, do, mi, do, mi, do, mi, you know, and then, so this would be probably get a better rating. I mean, somebody might give it a 7, somebody might give it an 8, 8.5, okay? All right, but it does have a sense of going, okay? So how do you achieve that? Well, you know, either you're a musical genius, or
I'll go down that.
or you pay attention to the next couple of classes and try to figure out some basic mechanical things that you could sort of use to apply to any kind of melody, and it will probably turn out reasonably good. Even if you don't have, you know, you should be able to sing these things in your head, first of all. Okay? By now, after how many years acquiring, right? But, and you don't have to have, you know, think B flat. You pick yourself a do, and it's a singable do, and you just go. You're starting on do, so do, do, di, da, di, do, mi, so, right? And that's easy to, you should be able to hear that kind of in your head. Okay, so, and we said at the end, what did we do? We said you had a choice. You could do a 1-5 or a 5-1. Okay. I'm going to do a 1-5. And I'll explain that why in a minute. All right. So we would go okay. So, what are we doing here? Is this the keyboard style, or? Let's do chorale just to refresh our memory. So, B flat, D, F, chord 1. B flat, D, F. I need another B flat, so I can put it here. And then I need a D. Well, then the D would, the D's up here is too spacey. The D's down here is too spacey. So the D goes up there. Problem solved. Okay? Nicely spaced. B, E, D, F. Moving this way. Keep the common note. Well, it's there. So F. I need another F, so I got it. I need an A and a C. So here's your answer. Okay. There's my first phrase. Okay. Then you have okay. Now vented on a dominant, which would be typical. Now suppose you had to do another 4 bars. Okay. Simplest musical strategy is to simply repeat and change the ending. Okay? In other words, down there, I want to have 5-1, so it sounds finished. This does not finish. This is, you're ending on 5. All right, there's a leading note, so the door is still open for more. All right. So. I'll just put the stems up. Okay, so far that's the same thing. So I got 1, 2, 3. I want to end right here. best, if you want any melody to sound really, really finished, you land on the tonic note in the soprano. So B flat is our destination. Okay? And it's so much better if you know where you're going rather than just kind of just going this way. Figure out where you're going to go, and then you can figure out how to get there. Right? You know how it always, when you're going someplace you've never been, it always seems longer. If you know where you're going, it's, you know, it's one of those things. Okay, so I end right there. So here's the first part. Da 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 da. All right, it's kind of like 2 bars and 2 bars. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. All right. So end on do. Okay. And by step. That's another thing. Good melody. Yeah, you need to go.
Oh, no. I was asking, is it wrong if it's authentic?
All right.
Is it wrong if it's authentic for the first one?
Well, if you do 4 and 4, the first one works best because you land on 5. And then you finish on 1. It could be like Schlegel at the end, but as long as there's 5 there, then 1 there. Those are the chords you're heading for. Okay? So, end by step. Okay, so by step would be re, do, or ti, do. Just picture this. If you use 5, right? In this chord, 5 is F, A, C. So, if you go from C to A, there's your C. If you go from A, T, do, there's this guy. So, that will always work. Huh? So, you want to get, so that's 2 things. You want to end by step, okay? Land on do, begin the repetition, and now all you have to do is finish that, okay? So, you need 2 beats. So, oh, sorry. Okay? That's the simplest solution you could do. Alright? So, follow me, re, do, boom, done. Okay? Now, so let's examine that one. So you could put yeah. So 5-1, right? F. Here's another F. I need an A. So there I have F, A, C. Right? B, B. And I'm going to give you a little bit. Let's do the other. Well, I'm painting myself into a corner here. Okay, what did I have, huh? And we'll go there. B, 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 D. Okay. Okay.
No, I don't know why you like this music.
All right. Technically, it's correct. So this would not fail. This couldn't possibly fail. All right. So that's the good news. Just purely by mechanical means, meaning, okay, I'm going to repeat the beginning, and then I'll flip I'll just design the end part to work into a 5/1 cadence, okay? And it's perfectly legit, right? Now, this is called parallel phrase. And you'll find that in your book. All right. So in other words, you repeat the beginning, and then somewhere around the halfway point, or just, following the halfway point, then you start to do a little bit of composing. Basically, just rearranging to make it sound like it's finished. So number one, if you land on the do, last note, stick with that idea. End by step. So that's 2 notes right there. Okay? And then you'll have very little else to do. You basically just need a little filler, and not a whole lot can go wrong there. So what we want is, the point of this is always that this sounds like it belongs to this. And you can't get any more sort of connection between a straight repetition. However, repetition is very easy. So they give you now more challenges. They up the skills level a little bit. They will ask you to do later on the idea of a contrasting phrase. Okay, so that's more of a creative challenge for you. In other words, if you repeat this, that's not the point. That's too easy. You need to come up with something fresh, original, that will sound like it belongs to the first phrase. Okay, so now how do you do that? Well, there's also mechanical ways. What you have to do is try to, number one, things I wouldn't do. I wouldn't introduce any radical changes of rhythm. Okay? In other words, don't start doing like triplets or something crazy like that. So I would stick to whatever note values they've got there, quarters and an 8th note maybe, and try to figure out something that would work. Okay? So, for example, the first thing that my eyes go to is this. Dum, 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 dum. Try it, right? Okay, so what I want to do, maybe, this is a possible strategy, right? Maybe start the second phrase with the same idea of a triad. Maybe you could use the same triad, tonic triad, B flat D F, but do something different with it. So maybe you could flip it upside down. And that would be enough to sort of create a contrast to that. Yet the connection is still there. The rhythmic connection, right? And the idea of a triad. In other words, if what they give you is this is all smooth, like a scale-ish, and you have a triad. So there's 2 things right there that you could make use of. Start with a triadic thing and then go into more scale without adding any rhythms. Wouldn't add any dotted stuff or anything. Just keep it simple like that, right? So the second phrase, maybe you could actually flip that around. Right? And that would count as a contrasting phrase. Yeah.
Would it also work if you use one octave in the scale? So like instead of having the second note on B and a second note on D, you have a note on C and then an octave?
Yeah.
That sounds weird.
I can't say that, there's no like super formula that you can just plug it in and press enter and and it works. You have to be careful. You have to realize that there's harmony here. Notice that first phrase is the. Sorry. So that's 5. So this is basically 1 going to 5, right? F, A, C. And then 1 again. And then basically 1, 1, 5. Very simple in terms of harmony. Okay? Like we're not going to get into that yet today, but that's kind of what's coming at you, right? And they'll also ask you to do some melodic writing. They might give you just these 2 bars, and then you got to finish something that makes logical sense. So you just got to observe. Repetition, important, but what you try to get is repetition combined with some kind of contrast. You know? So to me, the contrast here would be upside down. Or, so again, remember, this is what I was talking about or trying to get across to you on Monday. The idea of computer, right? The brain's a computer, and it's always searching for patterns. So if I hear that triad in that particular rhythm, that's a pattern. And if you can keep using that, but not literally repeat. So you got to do something different with it, right? All right, flip the first 2 notes. Something like that, and the ear will pick up the connection. It's the same rhythm. It's a triadic idea, so that makes sense. All right. So again, if you start throwing something triplets or some weird 16th notes in there, it won't work. The brain won't figure. It will say, what's that? Where does that come? Okay, so it's a fine line. Keep it simple, but gotta find out. You need to study what you've got there. Before you sort of do anything. Try to figure out a strategy. That'll just be some more experience. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's parallel. If we wanted to do let's see if we can keep that. So all you need is 4 bars. So let's say I did that. Okay, so again, I would make an artistic sort of decision here. Remember I just said, well, if you flip that up and that upside down. I wouldn't do that. Even though initially it's like a good idea. Reason is, I've already just heard three Fs. I'm not going to start with another F. Okay? Too much repetition, just your melody will come grinding to a halt. Alright? So maybe just go down here. Start on the F. Or sorry, on the D. Then you could go down to the B. Right, and you maintain, you have basically what, if we were doing sort of fancy schmancy analysis with fancy schmancy terminology, that would be called retrograde. Same thing backwards. Do mi so, do mi do. So you've got a strategy here. You could maybe take this another step further. Go. There's your triad. That gets you back to so you can see the connection between and then right, sounds like almost a question and answer. Right? So that's a strategy there. Okay, you could go back up to the F. But again, you're thinking, harmony, there's chords here. So now you're back, this would sound more satisfying because now you're back onto the dominant, right? Alright, so then, just so you hear it. So now we go. So instead of, what did we have here before? We just had like a little, then you can do the same scale thing. Or you can start down here. Ball. Take that rhythm. Alright, not too exciting, but it keeps the scale thing. Okay. So again, purely mechanical. So that would be contrasting, right? Parallels or repeats. This is contrast. Okay, so my point is this is different, yet it maintains the connection to this, so that when you start going through here, your brain's gonna see the connection. The triad, the rhythm, okay, so we've changed this, we've kept that, and then we've got a coming up. So So this also, what this does here is it breaks out of that range. All right? And again, if you stay in the same place for too long, again, it loses the momentum. If you're repeating the same few notes, like the one at the famous F minor one that we gave 6 out of 10. So there's more variety here. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of what I wanted to talk about today. Now, okay. Now, let's just look at page 92, 93. Some good examples. So here they give you the 4 plus 4. So page 90, 92. All right. So can you feel that we've landed on not the tonic? So here's your tonic. Alright? You should be, inside your head, you should be hearing the dominant. Alright? So you know that there's more coming. And now here's the more. All right? Okay, so to me that works. Good balance, all right? So notice, look what he's done. He's sort of done the same thing that we did over there a little bit. In measure 5, starting the second phrase, same idea with a triad, all right? Okay. But again, he's keeping in mind the harmony. Then he's got the dotted rhythm, and then he ends dee-da-da-dum, nice and smooth scale. Okay, so he hasn't shaken that up at all. And there's nice variety. So compare measure 1 and 5. So measure 1. Measure 5. Right? Measure 2. Measure 6. Right? Same rhythm. The ending. Measure 3, 4. Last 4. Okay. So that ending, I would call it an inversion. Okay. Right. So the idea that there's a pattern, okay, a rhythmic pattern that works, that you repeat. I mean, you know who did that the best? Yeah. Yeah. Our friend. I know I've done this before, but I'll do it again. That is just a small little musical idea. But what he does, he starts to stretch it out. If you look at it really, really closely, it's extremely clever. It's a rhythmic pattern, like 3 short notes, and then a longer one, and it's always downwards. Okay? At first, it's a major third. Then it's a minor third. Then back to the major third. Then a minor second. Sorry. Then minor third again. Now watch. Perfect fourth. Minor second. Dominant seventh. Alright, and then he goes stepwise. But it's always short, 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 long. Okay? So he just takes that little beginning. What he's doing is psychology of perception. He's imprinting that pattern on in your brain. And you're going to recognize it all the time. Alright? 3 shorts and a long. Okay? And now he's basically can take you for a ride, and everything is going to sound unified. And he gets very subtle in the later movement. There's like another theme, basically this. Short, 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 long. Alright? So again, he's imprinted. It's very different. It's very contrasting, but that little thing is still there. Alright? So he makes a connection very cleverly between, the very opening of that dramatic thing. Come on. So, again, take your cues. Look at the last one. Bottom of 93. This is kind of an interesting melody. Oh, sorry. Can you feel like it's moving upwards? Well, it is. Right?
I know it.
It's what we call sequential. It's just what Ludwig was doing there. It's the same rhythm, but up a step, and then one more up a step. Slightly different, and not always the same intervals, but there's the da-da-dum, 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 dum. Listen to it. Okay? Okay, second phrase. So he hasn't messed with the rhythms at all. He's maintained very simple 1, 2, 3, half, 4. Bum, bum, da da da, bum, da da da, bum, da da da. Okay? So that's his little that's his little imprint on your brain. The other thing that I would point out, just go back to the beginning. Another thing you begin to realize that your ear picks up key notes. Like all notes are not equal. What makes a good melody is the relationship between the notes, not separate notes, right? How do they connect? So, but some you'll find are more critical than other notes. To me, what I hear, okay, I'll do it. This is what I hear. Dum, da-da-dum, dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, do, re.
Good afternoon, staff and students. Before we end the day, we'll end it with a small prayer. If you're in the hallway or the classroom, could you please stop what you're doing? In the season of Lent, we ask Jesus to come into our hearts. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Come, Jesus, come into this heart of stone. Melt it, mold it, and make it your own. Come, Jesus, come into this heart of stone. Melt it, mold it, and make it your own. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Have a great day. God bless, and please wait for the bell.
Okay, please wait for the bell. So, let me just finish. So that's a very valuable observation. Okay, some observations when you look at a melody, you observe different things. Some things are not particularly significant; they're just kind of interesting. Other things are significant. So you're going to learn sort of make it the distinction. Look at the second phrase. Key notes. Fa, mi, re, do. So the second phrase is almost like the inverse of the first phrase. First phrase goes A, B, C. Then we have, and all the other notes are just decoration. They're decorative notes. You know, they fill in. You know, that's like the basic. The other stuff is the mustard and the relish in between your buns, so to speak. Okay. So your only job tonight is going to be to meditate on all of this.
Yeah.